Time to take you through the papers this morning. We'll have a look at the Times. It has a bereaved mother pleading for a public inquiry into her child's preventable stabbing death in Nottingham.
The Daily Mail reports on the Queen saying King is fine after undergoing prostate surgery.
The Guardian has Israel facing pressure to prevent civilian deaths in Gaza.
The Express reports on the King choosing to be treated in the hospital where the Princess of Wales is staying so that it would save taxpayers' money.
The Mirror has Jurgen Klopp and stepping down as Liverpool manager.
Shock. Right, joining us to go through what's making the news, assistant editor of The Spectator, Cindy Yu, and showbiz reporter Stephanie Tetchy. Lovely to see you both. Shall we start off with you, Stephanie, talking about the King?
Yes, well, it's good news to hear that the King's OK following his treatment for an enlarged prostate at the London clinic. And rarely, if ever, do we hear of two royals being at the same hospital at the same time, being treated for different conditions. But it seems the King is quite frugal. And the reason why he's at the London clinic at the same time as Kate, because he thought it will save taxpayers' money. So the royal, the Palisades and the royals in general, they do not disclose how much they spend on security, but it's still estimated to be about £7,000 per day. So by both King Charles and Kate being at the same hospital, they've made a saving of £14,000. But I think beyond the money, I think it's nice to know that they have that support and that, you know, the King visited Kate yesterday. So it is kind of a...
It makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And to be honest, I think the King has been quite frugal in general. You know, we saw last year he was telling the royals to turn off the heat in the palaces and stuff. So he's really reading the room of how the public feel, because, you know, I've seen some horrible articles of some people are like, oh, well, Kate should have been treated at an NHS hospital. She would have been out quicker. It would have been less money. And, you know, we do want to think about their health and that they're getting the best care as the royals. So I think King Charles is aware of the criticism that the royals do face when they do have these kind of measures.
Well, look, I think it's not a bad idea in some respects. However, you know, treating a royal member within a normal NHS ward would be, I mean, it would cause more problems.
It really would.
For everybody else in there, to be honest. Cindy, let's have a look at the Telegraph, should we? I don't know what to think about all this, really, but the US moving nuclear weapons back to the UK.
Yes, so the US did host nuclear weapons in the UK up until 2008, so basically throughout the Cold War and beyond. And in 2008, they removed them, deciding that the Cold War threat was well and truly over. It's a sign of our times now in 2024 that these are now being considered to be moved back. And this is a great scoop by the Telegraph's US editor, Tony Diver, talking about all these preparations, budget, equipment updates, barracks updates, all of these things that are seeming to point towards these nuclear weapons being moved back. Now, it's important to say this airbase is manned by US Air Force, so, of course, the British will know what's going on. And Russia have said that if this happens, it will be seen as a massive escalation. So it's just one of those things, isn't it?
That's the problem, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, by defending yourself, you're actually making the other side more paranoid.
Yeah.
And then that's how the tensions are racked up.
But we've got to, haven't we?
I don't know, and I feel like we're jumping the gun here. Obviously, I'm just, you know, they've got intelligence more than the public are aware of what's going on, but, you know, Moscow sees us doing stuff like this and they start preparation as well. So I just think, do we need to take these measures? But then sometimes I can be a bit naive about these things, so...
Well, I know also young, frankly, because anyone of my age totally used to having US fighter jets and we knew nuclear weapons right throughout the time. I mean, and so many Air Force bases in Britain were US Air Force bases. And to me, it's just sort of, OK, we've done it before, we'll do it again.
I think the other thing to say is that the UK already has nuclear weapons.
Well,
so
exactly.
it's
So
if we wanted to strike Russia with nuclear weapons, we've
got them anyway.
Exactly. So I'm not sure it's a massive... But Russia obviously has to say this.
Well,
if they don't say anything, it will look ridiculous. But I think it is just honestly just a sign of the times of how much the world has changed since 2008.
And isn't it an important time to strengthen our ties with the USA at the moment?
Well, we've always had a good relationship with them when it comes to stuff of, like, wars and partnerships, so I guess we do need to solidify that a bit more.
Yeah, maybe so. This one is, I find interesting.
Yes.
Because when I first saw this picture of Claudia Schiffer on the papers with her cat in a backpack, I thought I was the only person going, what? Because it just seemed like everyone was going, oh, isn't this marvellous and lovely? And all of it. Thankfully, Cats Protection have jumped in and said this is awful. And it is, frankly.
You know...
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Equally...
Cat's going to hate that.
Well, that's the thing. Fashionistas will see that and be like, ooh, cute, because I've always wanted to have a dog in a bag kind of thing. But actually, I'm glad that they have come out and spoken about this, because Cats Protection, because Chip, the cat on the picture screen there, he stars in the new movie Argyle, so he was actually a star of the movies, hence why she brought the cat to the premiere. But Cats Protection said that cats do not like to be confined in spaces like that, so for him to be carried in a bag like that, he probably had a bit of anxiety, stress...
Not if he'd been trained.
Well...
Yeah. You know, I don't know. But wasn't the do that she attended, wasn't it... everybody had turned up in silly animal outfits, hadn't they?
Not really, not like...
There was one...
Not from the pictures I saw.
Oh, maybe I was thinking of a different do.
I think the reason she's brought him, because he stars in the film, and I can imagine for the red carpet, actually, he was probably more protected in the bag than being exposed to all the paps and...
Yeah, well, as you said, there might be a difference because he's clearly a trained animal, so therefore it might be different, but it's the example it sets.
Yeah.
And those backpacks with his little window to look out of, well, cats hate that.
I know, I'm kind of
They want to hide away.
Quite cute.
Oh, no.
And fundamentally, animals do go through a lot, don't they? I mean, not that it would justify it, but
you can go to any
they have a lot of capability. A dog's gone into space, for God's sake.
Well, yes.
How anxiety-riven would that have been?
Oh, well, yeah.
You go into any pet store and you can get those little tiny little wheelie suitcases and train your dog to get it to go in, and they poke their head out, and you can take them with you.
Yeah,
wherever
but dogs
you go.
and cats are different.
Well, I think it's really.
Yeah,
You should know. I know.
We don't know enough about cats.
No, I don't know.
I don't know anything about that.
Cats love tiny spaces if they're crawling into them themselves.
Yeah, that's what
you
they're
put them
saying.
in a small space, they
And then
hate
with the paparazzi and the cameras and the lights and that sort of stuff, that
and I
really
think
was quite intense.
poor Chip would have been short of ventilation in that bag, so...
There are some holes at the bottom, but even so, it doesn't look like...
No,
But he and she look so chic.
Poor
They look
Claudia.
so chic. I know,
Claudia,
Steve, I'm
she
sorry.
made a fashion faux pas.
it is. I can see it's going to get her into trouble.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't like it. Don't like it.
Get Timmy a nice bag.
Yeah, Timmy's got a lovely bag, yes, but he won't be going in it to be paraded in front of the newspapers.
Cindy, Boris Johnson in his column today has said, yes, he would sign up to fight for king and country.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic Boris Johnson column for the Mail. You know, it's bouncy, it's patriotic, it's riven with history and peppered with his own personal history of his time during the cadets, which he was kicked out of at the age of 18, actually, for not being good enough.
Yes.
And basically, he's reacting to this news that the US and the UK senior military officials are thinking the UK might have to start conscription at some point in the future if we go to war with Russia. Rishi Sunak has come out to say that's not going to happen. But, you know, frankly, we just don't know, do we? We just don't know. And so Boris just saying, sign me up, I'll be there.
And to be fair, and forgive me if you're a huge Boris Johnson fan, but he'd be a nightmare for the army. Nobody would want it. He'd be utterly hopeless.
He didn't even get the pandemic right, let alone trying to go to war for us.
No, it'd be no good.
I think realistically
He'd be
he's
too
probably
old
too
anyway.
old, exactly. He's probably too overweight as well, because the
Yeah.
army has very strict guidelines on BMI.
But it's the sentiment he's trying to evoke here, isn't it? And actually, it's for the first time in weeks, it's really worth reading, isn't it? It's a very nice column. It's very funny. He tells really stupid stories about when he was in the CCF, the Combined Cadet Force, at school, and some of the things that they did wrong and how horrible the Sergeant Major was to them. But he said even that teaches you life lessons.
Yeah,
Sergeant Major was absolutely horrible. He made them clean the latrines until they sparkled, and then when they went to be, they went off somewhere. The Sergeant Major deliberately got a jar of peanut butter and spread it all over the loos, and then so when they were inspected by a more senior officer, who said, "What, you call this clean?" It was, and then apparently it was an in-joke. The officer bent down and actually picked it up the peanut butter with his finger and went,
No,
and one of the cadets fainted.
No.
So that's the sort of thing that's why it's a very, very good read. It really
If
is.
I were on a male comment desk, I'd be quite glad that he's actually written, you know, a very juicy column instead of some of the ones that have been
dry.
Yeah.
Is that what we're paying his?
If you want something juicy, you need a pineapple on your full English.
Good segue, Stephen.
Apparently, it was the staple part of the English full breakfast during the 16th and 17th century. And historians are saying we should bring it back on our full English breakfast, get rid of the mushrooms and tomatoes. You see, I've just about got my head round having pineapples on pizza, but I think pineapples with a full English...
See, I remember seeing this as a kid, though, up north.
Really?
You grill it, apparently. You don't just bung it on raw. If you grill it, and of course then all the sugars come out.
I can kind of see
and
that.
It goes all lovely and crispy and caramelly on the top.
What you need is a bit of acid, I think, in really heavy, savoury meals. And so I can see that pineapple would provide that.
I think pineapples is already a part of our breakfast. Like, if you have a fruit breakfast style, it's already
who has
part
a fruit
of it.
breakfast?
I do, darling.
Do not. Don't tell lies.
Fruits and champagne. But apparently it was a sign of wealth in the 16th and 17th century.
Because, of course, it was a very exotic fruit.
Christopher Columbus discovered it in 1492 and then he brought it to Europe.
Well, there you go.
Are you telling me you don't regularly have pineapple on your pizza?
No.
Oh, I love pineapple
I do
on
too.
pizza.
Blue moon.
Pineapple on anything, almost.
Yeah.
No.
I do like pineapple. But I'm going to give it a go with the fry up.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Get a margarita, pizza margarita, with pineapple and sweet corn.
Oh
my God, Stephen, this is such a red
Lovely.
flag.
Is it?
Yes,
And
that's an
mushrooms.
awful pizza choice.
Oh, I like,
Really?
I think so.
That sounds nice.
Sweet corn as well.
I love sweet corn.
No.
Oh, dear. Red
I think you've
flag.
offended all your Italian viewers.
Oh, well, I don't. Well, never mind. Never mind. I can live with that. No, I love that. Oh, I love that.
I would give that a go. I think it sounds yummy.
I think we've got just about time, Cindy, to tell us about how working from home is destroying our social skills.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a leading kind of headhunting firm talking about how since the lockdown, so many people have stayed working from home, even the pandemic's over, and actually they just don't have the human-to-human relationships to be a mentor or to be trained or to build a company culture. And I think basically the pandemic was a big experiment in what working actually means. And on paper, you might think working means ticking off all your boxes and all your tasks. But actually a company culture is incredibly important. So, you know, you can have an exceptional time like the pandemic and then you come back and rebuild that culture. But if you have stayed working from home, you know, companies like big law firms where so many of them are still working from home majority of the time, they feel like their culture isn't being built. There's no human-to-human interaction, especially for younger people first coming into the workplace. All you see is a Teams call. I mean, it really is incredible what that does to the human personality.
I would agree. I think it's a real problem that we've got to deal with at some point. We've got to leave it there. Stephanie, Cindy, thank you very much indeed. We'll see you a little bit later on.
Right now, shall we get the weather with Annie?